Hi, it's Chantel here from Fiberific. In this week's episode, we're working on our heel caps and gusset decreases. Our homework from last week was to get up to the gusset increase point where we have increased it to the number of stitches according to our individual sizes. If you are just wanting to learn how to do the actual skills for this video rather than being involved in this knit along, you can skip along to the time codes in the description down below. I also put it in the comments down below so that you can click it if you're on a mobile device. I've been starting to see some really lovely photos of people who've been finishing off their socks and people who are doing progress shots of their socks. If you want to show me the photos as well, you can @ me over on Instagram at Fiberific, or you can hashtag Rainbow Sock Cal, so we can all have a look at each other's stuff. Don't forget to also include thanks to Misha Maid or Michaela Richter, who is the designer of this amazing pattern. I've really been enjoying this entire process of documenting this wonderful pattern. I love how we don't have to pick up any stitches or do anything like that. So if you haven't started yet, jump into your stash, find some sock yarn. You don't have to do individual little skeins like what we're doing with our kits. You can use whatever you've got. You can stash bust, or there will be some more rainbow kits going up on my website in the next week or two. So keep an eye out there as well. So let's get on with the heel cap. Something to remember is we knit this heel cap with our main colour. We're knitting this heel cap in here. Okay, so our first instructions say we'll be working our heel cap with short rows over all our stitches from needles 1 and 4. And as we go, we remove our markers. Now, they're not talking about our 1, 2, 3, 4 markers. They're just talking about the markers we've got on our gusset, okay? So leave your other markers in if you're working on the circular needles. So we're going to knit our first row, which is knit 1, and then knit 2 together through the back loop. So I've got my 2 stitches there on the back loop, and we'll knit those together. Then we knit 1. Now we turn our work, and then we slip 1, and I'm slipping it purlwise. Then we purl 3, purl 1, purl 2, and I'm just going to slip this marker and purl 3, then knit 2 together. Oops, I missed my stitch. Come on, you. Knit 2 together, then purl 1, then we turn our work, then we slip 1, knit to 1 stitch before the gap, so we knit here, slip our marker, keep knitting. See this gap over here that we've got, this gap just here, we're knitting to 1 stitch before that gap. Okay, so we knit to 1 stitch before the gap, then we knit 2 stitches, so we pick up this one and the one after the gap and knit them both through the back loop, then we knit 1, then we turn our work. We're under row 4. So we're going to bring our yarn to the front, slip 1 stitch purlwise. We're going to purl to 1 stitch before our gap, and we'll see the gap as we get a bit closer to it. So purl to the gap. Oops. And there's the gap just there. So we're going to purl to 1 stitch before the gap. Then we're going to purl 2 together. Purl 2 together, and then purl 1 and turn our work. We need to repeat rows 3 and 4 12 more times. Okay, so we've finished our heel cap. Here it is here, looking schmick. The thing that you'll notice is that you've got 1 stitch left on each end after your gap before your markers. Now that is according to the pattern, that's correct. So from here on in, we are going back to our rounds. So if you remember where you're up to, I know for me, I was about to change colors. If you can't remember, just don't look here. Flip around to here, count your rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I was literally about to change colors. Okay, now the other thing that you'll notice is we're not at needle 1. So it's actually letting us know in the pattern that after we finished our heel cap, we finished all our bits and pieces, we actually need to reorder our needles. And that happens sometimes with double pointeds. So I'll need to make a new needle 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use one of my blinglets for now, just so that I know where I'm at. So I've got a blinglet as the beginning of the round. So this is our new beginning of our round. What I'll do is I'll actually remove this 1 as I go past it. And when I come back around, I'll add the 1 in there. So I forgot to change colors. So I'm going to go in and change colors. So the fun part is we're going to be reordering stitch. Well, you may not be changing colors, but I totally need to change color. So I've got the fun job of reordering needles and changing colors at the same time. All right, so we've got to knit to the end of needle 1. You'll notice up here that I've got a different stitch marker on, and that's because I had to go back and unknit all the stitches because I forgot to change colors. So if you need to change colors, make sure you change colors and don't have to unknit a whole pile of stitches like me. 11, all right, drop that off and then trim that down and continue on with our knitting. Now this had where number 1 was, so I've dropped off the number 1 marker and changed that. Okay, so you're going to need some extra markers or something. I actually have a spare set of markers, so I'm going to utilize those just so that you guys can see what we're doing. So we've just knit to needle 1, so I'm going to pop the 2 on because we are now knitting needle 2, and we knit needle 2 to 1 stitch before the gap. Now I know you guys don't have spare sets of the same markers, but you'll need to work out a way to let your brain do it. But it's just for this 1 row and everything's resorted. It's just a bit of a hinky jigging around. If you're using double pins or double pointeds, you just have to think of them as different needles. Okay, so we knit to our 1 stitch before the gap. Now we knit those 2 stitches together because we're reducing it down by the 2 extra stitches. Now this is needle 3, so I'm going to swap out the 2 and put on a 3. So needles 3 and 4 are just straight knitting. Now don't let me forget to actually do my color join at the other end. I forgot to put the new color on. There's a good chance I'm going to forget to join it. Now once we get these next 2 rows done, we're just going to be working back in our tube all the way down to the length of our feet. So I just want to go along here and swap needle 3 out, or marker 3, swap that out for a marker 4 if I have one. I don't have a spare 4. That's amusing. I must have had 2 ones. So I'm just going to pop that on there. And then we'll knit to the end here. I do just have to keep an eye on because I have to join my color end in. You may not be having to do the same color joining at the same time or end weaving that I'm doing. It just depends on where your colors were up to. So it is just adding an extra step for me just here, which is unfortunate. Okay, so I'm actually going to swap that for a needle 1 because we are now up to needle 1 again. So we're on round 2. So our round 2 is because we're decreasing this last stitch down here. So we slip as if to knit, remove that marker, we don't need it anymore. Slip as if to knit, then knit 2 together. Now normally, oops, that would be where I put in my joggler stripe, but not this time. And then we continue to knit all our stitches to the end of needle 1, and then on needles 2 and 3 we're just having a straight knit. So we just knit all the way to the end now, just double checking you've put the right markers in the right places as you go around. I've got to fix up this. Oh, I put a 4 in where the 2 was. That's why I've got 2 2s and no 4s. So on this round, just go around double checking that you've got all your stitch markers in the right places as you go. So I'm going to swap out this 4 for a 2. I don't know why I did that. There's a 2. So we've got a 1, a 2, and then continue to knit all the way to the end, double checking that we've got all our markers in the right, like they're all in the right places, just making sure we've got the right markers. So I'll see you at the end of this round 2. So we have come back around. Now what we need to do is just slip that marker, and we need to continue on in the pattern that we've been doing all the way around. So from here on in, we're going to be doing our 5 rows of colour, 5 rows of grey. We do this all the way back down our foot. Now you'll notice that we've got our gusset. I'm just going to try and do this without pulling it off my needles because that would be horrible. So we've got our sock, and we've got our heel cap that we've just made. I've just changed colours. You may not have had to yet. So needles 1 and 2 are the sole of our sock. Needles 3 and 4 are the top of our sock. So if you have your sock like that. Now we're going to continue on in our stripes. So from the front of the top, from the top of our sock, there's no break in our pattern. We don't have an extra thick bit of grey or anything like that. There's no break in the pattern, so you just keep going. So now we're going to keep working down the foot until we get to 4 centimeters above our toes. You'll get down to a certain point where you'll start realizing that your sock is getting quite long and you'll need to try it on. Now for Abby, who is a size 8, that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more colors, okay? So 5 more colors got her to about her length. But what you do is you try the sock on and get it to about 4 centimeters before your big toe. That's where I'm going to meet up with you again for the next video. In the next video of our cowl, we'll be doing our toe decreasing and our Kitchener stitch. So we're nearly there. Now the bad news is there'll be no video next week because I'm going to be traveling. I'll be down in Melbourne for VidCon. So I won't be here to record the video, unfortunately. So that gives you a bit of extra time to get your homework done, maybe get your second sock started or catch your second sock up to where we are. And then we can get onto our toe decreasing and our Kitchener stitch. Don't forget to click like if you've liked this video. Click subscribe if you haven't done so already, and pop in a comment down below. Don't forget to let me know how you're going and what you think of this wonderful pattern from Michaela. It's time for you to fill your universe with fibre fun. Off you go. I'll see you next time. Bye.